Hello and greetings. So I have been writing up a blog on my website. So I'm going to screen share so that you can see the page. I've decided to do a little recording because the latest bits of information that have come through are quite interesting. Well, I think so anyway. Interesting to me and hopefully interesting to you. So what has been happening is when I sit in the evenings and the mornings, so I'll sit and I'll meditate. So I have a little area in my room, which is has crystals, shells, a candle. So I'll light a candle and I'll set my shields and I'll do all my energetic protection for the evening. And then after that, I'll tune in with my higher self or with the archangels and just see what messages come through for me. And sometimes I get like clairaudiently, I'll hear words and I'll just write down whatever I'm given. So I'll either write that down in my little notebook that I've got here. So I've got make my notes and little drawings that I'll put down in here. Or alternatively, I'll write it onto my phone or onto my iPad just to make it quicker. So just I've stored those notes then in my notebook. And then I'll download additional information when I do a bit of research afterwards and pictures to add into that. And I've started sort of uploading these notes and things onto a blog. So the stuff that we got through recently was really interesting. It's all been linking in with Claire on Circle of Light Healer with what she's doing, because she's doing lots and lots of energy work, and she's been to Ireland, to Skellig, what's it called? Skellig Michael. So she's been tracking the Michael Mary line and the Apollo Athena line. And she's recently been to Corfu, and the energy points where she's been to the Temple of Artemis within the island of Corfu as well. And I think she's planning on going all the way to the end to Israel. So it all links along. So the very last point on that line is Armageddon and Mount Carmel in Israel. So it's quite interesting. But anyway, the stuff that I've been doing kind of links in with that, because the places that she was visiting on Ireland initially were all linked in with the Celts and with the Tutha Dudan. The Tutha Dudan are sort of a mythical race of people that I believe were a star race of people. It seemed like they were maybe from inner earth. They seemed like elven type people, but I had a past life regression myself where I saw the face of my partner, and he had very white skin, very pale. He's almost shining. He looked radiant, and he had very blue eyes, and he had very blonde hair, and he was so different from the Celtic looking people in the tribe that I lived with. And we had children together, and one was a boy that looked just like him, and one was a girl that looked like me with the darker skin, the curly dark hair. So I was like a tribal lady. And now recently, over the last 2 days, I've got information that I believe explains who I was within that lifetime. So I was more than I thought that I was. So I'm going to open up my blog so that I can share this with you now. I'm just going to read it straight out of the blog, because it probably will make more sense if I do that. And anything additional that I come to, I can then move across to. So screen share. So this is my editing page. So I'll go onto this page to make it a bit better. And I'll go to my blog. So blog and links. This is my beautiful website. And here we go. So I'll start on the Triple Goddess and the Celts, and I'll do this one and then move on to the 3 rings and the magical Celtic Torcs. So here we go. So the Triple Goddess of the Celts. This information came through to me. The 3 phases of a woman: daughter, mother, teacher, lover, earth, wind, fire, air, all the elements combined, the sun, the moon, the stars, the birds, the trees, and each and every conscious life form on the planet, the multiverse of light, music, harmony, rhythm, trinity of life, the 3 phases of a woman on earth. You are all of this and more. So this was kind of flowing through this. I was just getting all of this information flowing through, and I didn't really make much sense of it, but I wrote it down in my book. And then after I'd written all that down, I had a quick look onto Telegram to see if Claire had sent any messages, and she sent me through this image again. The what's it called? The Trilescon, I think it's called. It's a Celtic spiral. So as you can see here, it's got the 3 interlinking spirals. And so I looked this up again, the triple spiral, and I saw that it was believed to be the ancient goddess symbol for the triple goddess, Bridget. So it's the mother maiden crone symbol, but also for the triple goddess. And if you read a bit more about that online, then you'll see that apparently there were 3 of these goddesses that were each given separate names, and there's various different write-ups about it. But this is where it all led on. So I asked, why did you send me and Claire this symbol last night? This is not just the 3 phases of a woman of the moon, or a woman or the moon. This is the 3 pearls. So in a previous post, I was writing about the fact that there were three women. There was myself, Claire, and another woman. We each were given a pearl, which was an energetic pearl within our stomach, and we were doing work on Mintaka, which is one of the planets in the Orion's belt, the 3 planets within Orion's belt. So the Mintaka work and the activations that we were doing were all linked in. The 3 of you are connected back through time and space. You follow this back to the root of the connection and contracts that you made to aid at this time. The contract is not yet complete. Make contact. So this 3rd woman, I've not actually met her yet. She's a friend of Claire's. She's a daughter of the flame energy. We haven't actually made contact, but I was planning to ask her to do an Akashic reading for me because she does Akashic reading. So perhaps this will happen. So there is work to do around this and this to aid humanity's ascension. You are all far more than the 3 phases of the moon combined, yet the symbol reflects your earthly phases, but it also represents the all that you are. You are the sun, the moon and the stars, the dark and the light, every element. You have been all and contain the knowledge of all. You are all. In the human vessel, you have access to all that you have ever witnessed. It's far more extensive than the simple phases of the moon. Imagine the spiral as a cross-section of your DNA spiraling to infinity. Afterwards, I read this online. Bridget was thought to be the triple goddess. She was worshipped from Ireland all the way to Gaul. There were 3 Bridgets, all sisters. This is in accord with the 3 aspects of life. As poetess, as smith, and as healer, arts were important for our well-being. So I then asked, am I an aspect of the triple goddess Bridget? And I was told, yes, you were a sister. You were not an aspect of Bridget's energy, but you were a separate entity. You were connected, but not the same energy. You were a smith. You were an alchemist, a magician. You made swords and Celtic metalwork. You fought, and you were free in the end. You did not consent. So the day when this was all happening was the 2nd of August, which I'd been reading about. It was a portal day. So I was asking, is the 2nd of August important? Yes, today is important. It's a moment in time. Connect. Your triple energy is opening a portal. What does each person have to say? What messages come forth? Connect. There is transmutation to do and clearing to make way for the new. You each represent a goddess of a particular element, the earth, the wind and the fire. Together you are ether, creation itself, and this is how the gateway is birthed, with all the elements of the energies of the 3 of you, the 3 spirals. You birth a portal. When? On the winter solstice, the conjunction, the full circle since all this began. The summer solstice marked the beginning and the winter will mark the completion of this phase. Ascension and descension, the slope up the tour, arrival and then leaving. So you can see here, these are the triple spirals, and some of these are found in some of the ancient relics on Ireland and the places that Claire was visiting with her partner. And this is the Celtic, from the Book of the Celts. So an illustration, which also has these. So I was told, meditate and connect. We will guide you all this evening. All will be connected. Your energies combine. You are sisters, the same energy. I asked, when were we sisters on Earth? And I was told yes. And I asked, Greece? No. In Ireland, indeed. The Tooth of Judan, I asked. No, you were Celts. You saw yourself as a Celt here. So I remembered that past life regression that I'd had when I'd been married to the Tooth of Judan. So I asked, are we connected to the Tooth of Judana? Yes, I'm told, very closely. You were divine goddesses of the earth, wind and fire. You had much power and magic. Did we live in the same village, I asked. No, you lived in various settlements. And I imagined us in 3 separate locations in Ireland. That's what I saw in 3 separate areas. And I saw Claire as a blonde woman with wavy hair, very beautiful, with blue eyes, quite pale skin. I saw myself as a darker woman with dark brown to black hair and more tan skin, but the same wavy long hair with more bronze skin. We were all very beautiful. We had the same type of hairstyle. And then the other lady I saw having green eyes with red hair, and she had the paler skin, and she was also very beautiful. We looked kind of the same, but in different colours, weirdly. And so we all looked like these warrior princesses with this long hair, and we had sort of leather skins and clothing. And then I feel that we were leaders of various tribes, perhaps, or goddesses of various tribes, and we all had horses and we all kind of led the way. So I asked, how are we connected to the dragon lines? Because all of this sort of is connected in with the energy work that's been going on the dragon lines. So I was on the portal for ascension. So you draw on the power of the elements that you were one with in these lifetimes. I felt I was a metal worker, and I'm told that there was alchemy to this. So I guess Claire must have been the poetess, because they're saying that one was a poetess. So I imagine that would be sort of using the alchemy of words. And then the third woman, it's a doctor. So I'm imagining maybe she was a healer. So using the magic of the plants. So we all had used different types of alchemy, sort of magical properties of different elements. So it's an illustration of the triple goddess of Bridget. It's a carving that's been made. So when I was at college, this came through to me. So interesting. So when I was at college, I did an art degree, and I studied Celtic burial grounds, specifically the ones around Scotland in the Western Isles, because there's some really famous ones there where they've been buried. I didn't really know about the ones in Ireland then, but I was looking at the shapes and this burial mounds, and all of my work was based on metal work. So I did I forged steel, I worked with brass and copper, and I made kind of containers sort of based on these burial mounds and all these shapes and things out of metal. So I just had this affinity with working with metal. And always when I doodle, I just do spirals, always spirals. I just do these interconnected spirals, which I'd never really thought about it. But I don't know if you can see this type of thing, but it's just very Celtic, and it just reminds me of that symbol of the three spirals. So it all sort of makes so much more sense when you realise that these are your soul memories that are filtering through in your subconscious, and that you're doing these things in your now, time and space in this lifetime, but it's actually linking through to previous lifetimes. It's amazing. Anyway, so on to the second bit of information. So during the day, that day, I went for a walk, and on the walk, I found a 4-leaf clover. What's the chances of that? It just doesn't happen, does it? So once, many years ago, when I was in my 20s, before I had any children, I now have 5 children, but in my 20s, I found a 4-leaf clover, and it was wow, I've never found one of these before. And I was kind of thinking maybe they're not so rare, but I've never found another one since. And I was walking along, nice sunny day, strolling along, and I kind of said to my kids, this is the sort of place, because I looked down and there was loads of really large leafed clovers. I said, this is the sort of place you find a 4-leaf clover. Lo and behold, there's one there right in front of me. So I pick it, pop it in my pocket to take home, but I'm just looking at the patterns on the leaves, and it triggers sort of a memory of something that I've seen in a book, which I'll go into later. But anyway, later that evening, set my shields, do my energy work, make sure I'm all protected, all the family's protected, tra-la-la, connect in, and then some more information comes through. So during the day, I've been hearing the words from the Lord of the Rings, 3 rings to 1 ring to rule them all, this type of thing. It just kept coming into my subconscious mind, and I kept hearing 3 rings, and the ring to rule all rings, the Mordor, the Lord of the Rings, darkness, dark riders. So I was asking, why does this keep coming up? So the ring was the crown of the false king of tyranny, I'm told. He was sent to infringe and control you. So this is going back to the lifetime where we were 3 sisters within Ireland in the Celtic times. He was sent to infringe. You did not consent. He was a dark sorcerer. He had Merlin energy, but he was an earlier incarnation. Merlin was not the first. There was another dark soul in the Celtic times. This is what you need to transmute from this era. His dark tentacles spread through cords and time tunnels. So I asked, why do I feel that this darkness still upon me? So I was just feeling a really dark energy, and I had been all day. It just felt very still and very odd. And so I was told, we are still in the Lionsgate portal. We are still transmuting. How does the Lord of the Rings relate to our true history and our future? I've always been fascinated by this, because you can see links to the Elvins, all of these things now. When you're doing past life regression, you see these Elven races, and they become part of the work that you're doing. So it's obvious that this person that wrote the Lord of the Rings, he was getting this all through psychically. Maybe he was linking into his own past lives and his own soul memories, or maybe he was being downloaded this to sort of give to humanity, so that we would all have this information. Anyway, I am told Mordor is earth. The dark sorcerer created rings to bind. He cannot hold you any longer. These ties you cut as you find them, his webs. What are the rings, I ask? The rings from the Lord of the Rings. Are they dark portals? Yes, it is an analogy. Did he make physical rings? I asked. No, I'm told, but you did. So there were 3 rings, I'm told. You all had one. This is the triple goddess of Bridget. So the 3 goddesses all had a ring each. They connected your minds and hearts to aid these connections, the gold rings. This is why when people marry, they have gold rings. Once there was alchemy to this. There was an inscription on the rings, I hear, in Elven, sort of Old English. It looked like runes. The meaning was along these lines. We are one. Together we rise. We have the power of the gods. We are the shining ones, as angels of heaven on earth. The 3 sisters had rings made at the same time from the same metal, and they were worn around the neck, not on the finger, I hear, because I'd imagined like the Lord of the Rings was like, as you see in the film, it's like all worn on the fingers. But what I'm showing is like a medallion with a hole in it initially. So I'm getting that it's to be worn around the neck. And then I'm seeing like a boomerang shape, like a ring that doesn't quite meet, and imagining this flat plate around the neck. And then I hear the word torc. So as you can see here in this Celtic carving, this man here is wearing a torc around his neck. And the Celtic torc. So I just looked that up online afterwards. It says the ancient Celtic cultures, they had torcs, which were a common form of jewellery. So I didn't know this information previously. Torcs were not just exquisite works of Celtic art, but they would also identify the wearer's status and perhaps were believed to have spiritual properties. There are depictions of gods and Celtic warriors in ancient art, often show them wearing these torcs around their necks. So I didn't really realise that they were considered to have spiritual purposes as well. So that's really interesting to me. And then this one here is a crescent-shaped lanula. And lots of these, the majority of these were found in Ireland, apparently. There's lots of them in the Irish Museum. So it says here, more than 100 are known from Western Europe, of which more than 80 have been found in Ireland, which is fascinating because that is what I saw it as looking like. This more of a flat, not the solid like torcs that you often associate with sort of the Celtic bracelets, but these type here. And this is just what I saw, so it's amazing. So I asked, moving on from this, did we know of the darkness? Sort of thinking back to that time when we were these women of that time. And I was told, yes, you had the power to see the tentacles in the darkness. Not everyone did. And in the end, it spread to many. You were defeated by your own people becoming infected. Why has this information been given to me now? And I'm told, these gold rings, their alchemy is eternal. They are eternal energetic rings. The power will come back to you if you call. So I decided that obviously I'm supposed to call back this power. But I feel slightly resistant to that because it feels like it may not be entirely safe. So I call, just putting in mind that I'm not calling this energy back to me unless it's 100% source white light. And as I shut my eyes, I see darkness and it feels very ominous. And I see it kind of just very dark. And so I kind of ask like for this to be contained within an appropriate symbol. And I ask, call in my team, the archangels, to begin transmuting. And I ask, what is this? It feels very dark, like a portal. And I ask, is this a portal? And I ask for it to be closed through all time and space, if it is. So I'm told, yes, this is a dark portal at the centre of the 3 neck rings. So as the rings come together, they've been infringed upon and a dark portal has formed within that energy, that energy has been used to create this dark portal. So I'm now asking for this dark portal to be closed. In my mind's eye, I'm imagining, I'm calling Divine Mother, Divine Father. I'm asking for Divine Mother's diamond shield to be placed around it. I'm also imagining an energetic Merkaba around it. I'm not quite sure why, but it just felt like an appropriate thing to do, just with flooding it with source love light. And I see that it begins to glow and anything negative within it is being dissipated and it's glowing with source love light again. And together they seem to create now like a circle of light, just a beautiful circle of light, like a liquid ball of like a sphere. I can just see it. The whole thing just feels liquid and it's glowing. It's like the sense of inner earth and the elementals is coming to me. I just get the sense of the elementals and I hear that the energy can now be returned to those that it belongs to. And I see the 3 rings separating. And obviously then I set the intention that these rings can be returned to the people that they formerly belonged to, but obviously just only if their higher selves so choose, and obviously the energy won't be integrated into them unless their higher selves scan and allow this to happen. And then I'm told that we are complete. So just at the bottom of that, yes, so early in the day, the 4-leaf clover that I found, so very interesting. So this all links up together. It's very interesting. Claire had been to Corfu the day before. She had been to, no, let me read it from here. She'd been to the Temple of Artemis, which is a very little known location on the island. But we have a book called the Dance of the Dragon, which shows the Apollo and Athena lines. And on Corfu, there's a place where the Apollo and Athena lines cross. So it's a very powerful energetic center. And the guy that wrote the book, he was a dowser, and he dowsed the line. And what he found at the location of the Apollo and Athena lines when he dowsed the line was a pattern on the ground that looked like this. It's amazing. You can actually dowse these patterns. Like he's found other ones where the lines meet that look like pentagrams, but they're kind of slightly distorted pentagrams. And I get the feeling that a lot of these portal places have been infringed upon. But anyway, this is what he found at this place. And Claire did some energy work while she was here. So obviously it's all linking in. Like I was with this portal, I just felt like the 2nd of August was a portal day. I was doing energy work on these 3 rings, which had a portal within them, which I was clearing. Claire had obviously done this work on the portal on Corfu, which also linked in with the energy lines. It all linked back to where she started this energy work, which was in Ireland, so at Skellig Michael. So it all felt connected. It was just, I couldn't really put my finger on how it was all connected, but I knew that everything we were doing had a purpose, and it was all connected, and all of this energy was connected, and all these little bits of information that come through, and this energetic work that you do. It seems like really, just stop sharing my screen now. Stop share. It seems really weird, and you can't imagine that it's actually doing anything much, this energetic work, when you think, well, how can sort of thinking about something and asking for it to be cleared within your head make any difference? But then when you do this energy work on people and their energetic body, and you clear these attachments that they have, it makes such a profound difference to their life. People just feel so free, so different. They're sort of, all of these traumas and things that have been plaguing them, or illnesses and things that have been plaguing them their whole lives, are suddenly gone, and they can move on with their lives. I shall stop this here because it's going to go on and on and on, and it'll get too long, but I hope you found that interesting. I've written all of these things down within my blog. It's really hard to keep on top of it because obviously I meditate morning and night, and I get information every day, so like trying to share all of this information is just too much really. So I'm just kind of going to maybe cut it down a little bit and just share the things that are more important, but it all seems important, so I just keep writing about all of it. Anyway, it's all fascinating stuff, and thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed listening to that. Okay, goodbye.